The pressure was rising fast. The black community was reaching a boiling point, and whites didn't know how to listen. Violence was the warning of the day if things continued the way they were. We're finishing from the 1945 book Black Metropolis by Dr. St. Clair Drake and Horace Caton. Prudence. Let us return to Bronzeville, the black neighborhood in Chicago this book was based on. This part of the book now describes the current time period the authors lived in. So it's grounded in what was the now for them, while looking into the future. It is conceivable that the Negro question, given the moral flabbiness of America, is incapable of solution. Perhaps not all social problems are soluble. They're saying that white America was too morally weak, and maybe, just maybe, the Negro problem was one social problem that couldn't be solved. Indeed, it is only in America that one finds the imperative to assume that all social problems can be solved without conflict. To feel that a social problem cannot be solved peacefully is considered almost immoral. Americans are required to appear cheerful and optimistic about a solution, regardless of evidence to the contrary. This is particularly difficult for Negroes, who at the same time must endure all the disadvantages of the job ceiling and the black ghetto, as well as other forms of subordination. So whites could just sit back and afford to do all the skinning and grinning and being overly optimistic, extra patient, and cheerfully waiting for a solution. They didn't have the added anxiety from the social pressure and the job ceiling. Pay attention. Under sustained oppression, when all the exit doors are locked, the jobs are locked, the rights are denied, and people are looked down on, the universe leaves one last tool to get out of it. That tool is called violence. It's the emergency escape hatch that's always available in oppressive situations. The authors are warning that the pressure was increasing, Negroes wanted out, and they weren't left with many options. So far, most Chicagoans view Negro-white relations negatively, solely in terms of preventing a riot. While all responsible Negroes try to prevent violent conflict, their primary interest is in the complete abolition of political and economic subordination and enforced segregation. Chicago's last riot came after the First World War. That was in 1919, when the Negro boy drifted into the white section of the beach. Whites stoned him, then he drowned as a result. There is still danger that in the critical years following the Second World War, it might happen again. That's the warning. Why might it happen again? Because the pressure was increasing. When you heat water in a pot with a lid on it, the pressure eventually builds until the steam lifts the pot, because it needs to release somewhere. Negroes were reaching a boiling point, but they had minimal avenues to release it. And enough pressure will always find a way out. And when the options are limited, violence becomes a sure option on the table. Any attempts to effect a moving equilibrium which will prevent racial outbursts must involve the following processes. 1. The continuous interpretation of the Negro's aspirations and demands to all sections of the white community, meaning the white community needed drilling in what Negroes actually wanted, and not what whites imagined or twisted it to mean. 2. The actual progressive relaxation of discrimination and segregation beginning immediately, meaning Negroes are moving into your neighborhood, studying in your schools, and working at every level of your jobs. And it has to start now. Oh, snap, this stuff is wild. 3. The inclusion of Negroes in all post-war plans on an equitable basis. That means GI Bill, FHA loans, VA loans, and more. Negroes couldn't be left out of the plans after the war. 4. The strengthening of social controls, familial, associational, and governmental, within the Black Belt. The black community needed stronger discipline and outside support to deal with its growing problems. 5. The constructive channelizing of the Negro's mass resentment into successful action patterns of nonviolent protest. Negro resentment was like rising water. Without a dam, that water floods and damages whatever's in its path. That's the riot. But with a dam that could hold the water and could guide it, that same water could be released in controlled ways that power cities and irrigate fields. The authors were saying that Negro anger had to be channeled into a non-violent protest, or else it was going to break loose and tear all types of things up. Whether at this time Chicago, America, or the world can take such progressive steps in relation to their subject people, even to avert violence, is questionable. But the problem of Bronzeville and of the American Negro is not an isolated problem. The fate of Black Metropolis is dependent on the fate of Midwest Metropolis, of the country, and of the world. Forces which are in no sense local will in the final analysis determine the movement of this drama of human relations toward hope or tragedy. The bigger forces were the national politics and the economy.
The Negro problem is an integral part of, or a special phase of, the whole complex of problems in the larger American civilization,
states Myrdal.
It cannot be treated in isolation.
The fate of the people of Black Metropolis, whether they will remain the marginal workers to be called in only at times of great economic activity, or will become an integral part of the American economy and thus lay the basis for complete social and political integration, depends not so much on what happens locally as on what happens in America and the world, because it all tied together. Just like the heart, lungs, and kidneys all keep the body alive, the Negro problem was tied into the whole American and even global body. So you couldn't just treat it apart from the larger system, because the health of one part affected the health of all. Given widespread post-war unemployment, for instance, the Negro may again become a chronic relief client, despised by the majority of white citizens who have to support him from taxes, and the symbol around which the aggressions of a frustrated society can be organized so that he may fill the role of whipping boy for an emerging American fascism. This, too, depends not so much upon Chicago as upon the possibility of America's achieving full employment in the post-war world and on the development of a world program for emancipating the common man. So it is really only one world. The problems that arise on Bronzeville's 47th Street encircle the globe, but the people of Black Metropolis and of Midwest Metropolis do not feel that this relieves them from maintaining their own constant struggle for a complete democracy as the only way to attain the world we say we want to build. The people of Black Metropolis and of Midwest Metropolis and of all their counterparts are intertwined and interdependent. What happens to one affects all. A blow struck for freedom in Bronzeville finds its echo in Chongqing and Moscow, in Paris and Senegal. A victory for fascism in Midwest Metropolis will sound the knell of doom for the common man everywhere. Some powerful stuff, right? It's now time for us to wrap up the commentary on this book. But what have we learned from it? We learned how Negroes lived and functioned as they migrated to the city of Chicago. We learned the ups and downs the community had to face. We saw the struggles for survival and the fight against oppression. We also saw the mental effects that still lingered from slavery. And what this book represented was not just a study of Chicago. It was a reflection of the broader Black community in general at that time. And that's what makes this book important. It was a snapshot in history that allows us to revisit it so we can compare what was to what was to come. And with that, we'll go ahead and close the book. And we'll pick up with another one in the next commentary. I thank you for your time and attention. My name is Brooklyn St. Michael, and I'll see you in the free world.